Wrap up. Hey, good afternoon, traders. Today is July 25th, 2025. My name is John Carignan. I am the lead instructor here at the BYOB Trading Room. That is the day trading service for the hit and run candlesticks family. Let's take a look at some charts today. Let's see how I made 90K on a 1 million account. And let's take a look at that first. All right, so let's move this over. Wrong one. Move this over and move this over here. Pick up the SPY. All right, first product I traded, all right, was 640 strike, 0 DTE calls, 27K on those. Let's take a peek. All right, you can see they went from, well, basically from 1 cent, well, from 4 cents down to 1 cent, and then they disappeared. All right, so I'm buying the lows of the candles. All right, we got a 10-minute uptrend. I'm looking at the uptrend. I'm buying the lows of the candles and selling the highs of the candles. All right, 3 days till expiration, 640 calls. 3 days till expiration, 640 strike calls. Got 12K on those. Make sure I got this right. And now they put it down to 69K. All right, so they took some away from me. I don't know how they did that, but the account still went up, 100 grand. So we'll see what happens. All right, so 12K on some 3 days till expiration, 640. All I did was buy, look at the 10-minute uptrend over VWAP. As long as that's intact, I'm going to put out a net of buy orders underneath. Okay, I put out a net of buy orders underneath the price so that I get filled underneath the candles near the bottom of the candles. Then I put out a net of sell orders up above my cost basis, so when it goes up, I extract profit. So I have a net of sell orders, because these are calls. Got a 10-minute uptrend coming into the coming up all day long. All right, so I put out a net of sell orders up above my cost basis, so I get filled, and they give me gains up top there, and then I reload at the bottoms of these candles. Okay, you can see I just did this all day long. All right, buying the dips, selling the peaks. All right, same thing. All right, 9K on some 360, 637 strike calls there. Okay, same thing. 10-minute uptrend. All right, I'm watching the 10-minute uptrend, see if it's intact. If it is, I spread out a net of sell orders up at the top of the candles over my cost basis, so I get filled with profits. And then I have a net of buy orders underneath to bring my cost basis down and to reload the calls that I've already sold. All right, I've got some 0 DTE 635 calls. All right, got 5K on those. All right, let's take a peek at those. Again, I do the same thing. Those were 0 DTE, so I didn't want to take those into close. All right, so I just captured my profit. I really didn't even need this. I don't know why these are still there. Don't need them because I did not want those after I sold off on these. All right, so again, 10-minute uptrend over VWAP, buying the lows, selling the highs of the candles. Okay, and then I farmed the rest out up here because I didn't want any part of this any longer. That was 635. They were getting too pricey. My sweet spot is between 30 cents and $1.50, and you can see these were up around $2, and I didn't want to trade $2 options that were 0 DTE. I didn't want that. Okay, it's a little bit too rich for me. I like them when they're between 30 cents and $1.50. All right. $871 on these 640, 6 days till expiration calls. And you can see again, I already had some of those. So I sold off into the rallies, bought the dip, sold off into the rallies, and I eliminated all of those. Some 650 strike calls. All right, 650 strike calls, 7 days till expiration. Again, I spread out a net underneath and a net of sell orders up top. So as price moves up, it runs into my sell orders. As it pulls back, I get reloaded on the dip. All right, so I wanted some of those for next week. All right, I still think price goes up to 650. I don't know when it gets there, but I still believe that price will probably get there. Okay, I also made some money on some Qs, which are right here. Okay, so I made 13K on some Qs. Again, I bought the dip. I got a 10-minute uptrend over VWAP. Same thing. Always trading the 10-minute uptrend over VWAP. All right. Bought the lows of the candles and sold the highs of the candles. Okay. Bought the lows, sold the highs. Okay. 10-minute uptrend. You can see the 10-minute uptrend kind of got arrested right there. So I didn't want any more of that anymore. Okay, so that is the QQQ. Intel, okay, on Intel, you can see Intel had some bad earnings, okay, and they fell out of bed. All right, so I lost 2K on those. All right, 2K on Intel falling out of bed. What else did I trade? I traded Taiwan Semiconductor. Okay, so I got some calls on this Taiwan Semiconductor. So I farmed some calls out into the rally, selling into the strength up there. Okay, so I made 1,500 on those calls, selling those into strength. Okay, it says Taiwan Semiconductors. All right, that's it for me for today. That's how I made my 93K. It said 93K before. I don't know what happened. They moved some numbers around or something, but it was up there around 93K. Anyways, okay, let's move this over. Let's take a look at what we got for charts. Looks like we got a 10-minute downtrend coming into the close. All right, let's take a look at that. I'm going to take the pivots and I'm going to slide those into silent mode. All right, so here's the 10-minute chart. You can see on the 10-minute chart, we got the yellow 3 EMA crossing underneath the 8 EMA. Okay, yellow 3 underneath the 8 EMA right here. So we got a 10-minute downtrend coming into the close. All right, on the 2-hour chart. Okay, still got a 2-hour uptrend coming into the close. See the yellow line up on top of the white line right here. The brown line is VWAP, okay? 2-hour uptrend coming into the close. All right, on the daily chart. Again, new all-time high for the daily chart, okay? Doesn't get any better than that. New all-time high for SPY. All right, let's take a look at QQQ. All right, QQQ had a nice 10-minute uptrend today, and I can see I told you traded that 10-minute uptrend. SPY was kind of flaking out, so I traded QQQ for a 10-minute uptrend right there. So there's QQQ with a 10-minute uptrend. Traded that again over VWAP. That was nice. For the daily chart, all right, QQQ puts in a new all-time high. Okay, doesn't get any better than that. All right, new all-time high for QQQ. FNGU. All right, FNGU puts in a inside day, lower high, higher low, closing over a bullish trap over the rising 17. FNGU, see it move up, hold the higher ground. That's bullish up there. Okay, bullish on FNGU. All right, and in an uptrend. Okay, you can see up at the top of quadrant 4, that's bullish. You can see it move up and hold the higher ground. Okay, that's bullish, okay? As opposed to moving up and giving it up, all right? We've seen this before where price moves up and then they give it up, okay? So that's just neutral, all right? They're doing this. They're moving up and holding the higher ground. See, up and hold the higher ground, okay? It takes strength to do that, okay? All right, so that's bullish right there. All right, let's take a look at IWM. IWM puts in a lower high, lower low, closing inside a bullish trap over the 17 up here in the upper third. All right, in the upper third, that's bullish. Anywhere up here, this is bullish. Okay, down here in the lower third, this is bearish. All right, so they're bullish, and you can see price action moves up and holds the higher ground. That's bullish, and they make a series of higher highs and higher lows. Here's some lows. All right, here's some higher lows. Here's some highs, and then here's some higher highs. So that's an uptrend and bullish up there in the upper third. Let's take a peek at Diamond Dow. All right. Diamond Dow puts in a, well, let's see what the high is here. The high is 449.13. High here is 449.41. All right, so we got an outside day. Higher high, lower low. Closing over a bullish trap over the rising 17. Again, price moving up. All right, price moving up and holding the higher ground up here. That's bullish. See how price moves up and holds the higher ground. That's bullish. Builds a launch pad, and then you get a launch. Build another launch pad, get another launch. All right, so there's Diamond Dow, bullish and in an uptrend right there for Diamond Dow. All right, let's take a look at technicals. Come on over here to T2122. All right, we spent most of the day inside the buyer's chop zone. Notice we didn't take out this low down here on the 15-minute chart, so that's bullish right there. And then at the end of the day, we rallied up to finish the rest of the day in the buy zone. So I would look for more of this tomorrow. More time in the buy zone and maybe the top of the buyer's chop zone. And then maybe at the end of the day on Monday, maybe we find ourselves back up in the overbought zone. There's T21.22, T21.23. Okay, yes, they did it again. New rally high for T21.23. Okay, a little bit of waffle at the beginning of the day. You had a bullish gap up. And the bears failed to fill the gap. Okay, there's your clue. All right, and then price, after melting off, can't fill the gap. Bulls take over. And they make a new rally high up there. So buying commences from like 10:30 and then all the way into the end of the day, T21.23. Okay, you're up over the rising 200 SMA and T21.23 making higher lows and higher highs. Okay, we got some on the 15-minute chart. Got a low here, got a low here. Okay, got a high here. All right, and a high here. So, and a higher high up there. So higher highs and higher lows. That's an uptrend. T21.23 15-minute chart. How about the 3-bar chart? Okay, 3-bar chart, same thing. Okay, again, we're dealing with, all right, this consolidation right over here. Okay, we got this peak, that valley, and that peak to ride through. Okay, so right through there. So if I drag this all the way over, you can see price action is dealing with that consolidation right there, right now. Okay, so it might take us maybe a week to get through that consolidation that exists for about a month and a half. Okay, if you take the vertical lines, you'll see right here, I'll take some vertical lines. You can see right here that peak lasts from there, and that peak, that valley lasts all the way into, well, about the end of December. Okay, so over a month. So it might take us a week to cut through all of this consolidation over here to the left. All right, so there's T21.23. Again, on T21.23, you've got higher, got a low. You can see the red dots right there. You got a higher low. All right, you got a high right there. Of course, you got a new rally high. That's a higher high. So we have an uptrend. All right, and you're up here over the 200 SMA. That's bullish. All right, as soon as we cut through this consolidation right through here, all that's left is the all-time high. All right, I really feel like T2123 is going to set a new all-time high. All right, we'll see. All right, I've been wrong before, but I really think T2123 is off to set a new rally all-time high. All right, so we'll see what happens. All right, so let's take care of this, get that out of the way. I've already explained the consolidation that we're dealing with. Let's take a look at FNGU, and FNGU, today's 25th, okay? So buying, all right, from the beginning of the day, okay, all the way up until the last hour, and then they went home, all right? And you can see the sellers took over after that. Okay, you're up over the 200 SMA. That's bullish. Okay, you can see price action again moves up and holds the higher ground. That's bullish. All right, you can see price action up over prior all-time high anchored VWAP. That's a pink line. All right, and you're up over that 200 SMA. That's bullish up there. FNGU on the 15-minute charts. Take a look at a few sectors. First sector we'll take a look at is XLE. All right, so here's XLE. All right, we're on a daily chart. We're on the scratch. Okay, so today's candle, higher low, higher high, closing over a bullish trap over the 17, over downtrend line 1 and downtrend line 2 right here. Okay, so price action has a habit of moving up and giving it up. Let's just go look at the history right here. Okay, so you can see price action moves up over the all-time high anchored VWAP up into quadrant 4, and then they give it up. Okay, and then they do it again, and they give it up again. Okay, then they do it again. They get up into the upper third over the all-time high anchored VWAP, and they give it up again. You see the pattern that happens here. They go up and they give it up. Okay, so that makes them just neutral. Okay, you go up, you give it up. That's neutral. Okay, you go up, you give it up, and more, that's bearish. So they got bearish down here. All right, so price action, all right, you can see it's not in the upper third, because up here this would be bullish. It's not in the lower third, okay, because that would be bearish. So we're just in neutral land right through here. Okay, this is neutral land. All right, still caught, can't seem to hold over that all-time high anchored VWAP. All right, so that's XLE. All right, it's still in an uptrend. All right, because we got a low here, got a low here. Well, here's a higher low and a higher low and a higher low and a higher low, and we got some higher highs to go with that. There's a high, higher high. There's a high, and that one beats by a penny. There's a higher high. So we're in an uptrend, but we're just stuck in the neutral lane. Right here, can't seem to hold the higher ground, can't seem to hold the lower ground. Not that we want to hold the lower ground, but there it is, okay? So neutral and in an uptrend. All right, so there's XLE. Let's take a look at USO. All right, USO, again, got kind of a little bit of the same problem. Can't seem to hold the upper third up there. Okay, they get up and they give it up and they go back and they give it up. Okay, so price action today. Okay, notice not in the upper third, not in the lower third, so it's neutral. Price action for today is, let's take a look at this. That's a lower high and a lower low, closing under a bearish trap under the 17. Both of those are bearish, all right, but we're above the 3-year high anchored VWAP, which is the pink line. Okay, so that's kind of bullish right there. So you got some stuff that's bearish, some stuff that's bullish. All right, now if you look at the lines here, okay, again, you're not up here in the upper third, so you're just neutral through here. Still in an uptrend. There's a low, got a higher low, all right. Here's a high, got a high, there's a higher high, all right. So they're in, there's another higher low. So they're in an uptrend, all right. They just can't seem to hold the ground up here in the bullish. Let me just say, they are knocking on the door up here, okay. Notice where they were. They were down here, and now they're consolidating up here. So that is bullish in its stance, but not quite enough to make it into the upper third. You can see they were up there couple times. Once here, once here, once there, okay, but they can't seem to hold it up there, okay? Just like XLE, okay? All right, they move up and then they give it up. That's neutral. Again, they move up. That's the upper third, okay? That'd be bullish, but they give it up and more, all right? So they're not in the lower third, not in the upper third. They're just neutral right through here, okay? Right between the two of them, okay? So that's USO neutral, but in an uptrend. And that's a good looking bullish stance. If I was going to have something that's neutral, I like the stance and the behavior that's happening here. They're not far from, they are knocking on the door daily to the upper third, all right? So they want in, all right? It's just going to take some time until they're ready, all right? So there's USO. That would be the crude oil fund right there, USO. Let's take a look at UNG. You can see UNG's got a head and shoulders pattern, all right? And we'll map that out for you. We got a triple top crown right here. Okay, 1, 2, 3. That's the head. Okay, then we've got a right shoulder. Is this double top right here? See this double top right here and here. So we got the right shoulder, and then we got another double top right here and right there. Okay, so that's the left shoulder, and then we got a neckline that got challenged just recently, and they failed to hold candles above the neckline. All right, so hence they're coming down. All right, so this is a head and shoulders pattern with a broken neckline right there. Okay, the neckline got retested and it held. All right, so you can see a series of lower highs and lower lows. So we're in a downtrend. Okay, so lower high, there's a high, there's a lower high, lower high, lower high. See the lower highs? All right, now let's look at the lows. Lower low, 4 lows here. Got a lower low, a lower low, a lower low, and another lower low. So, okay, they're in a downtrend. Lower highs and lower lows, that's a downtrend. Okay, you can see price action is down here in the lower third, quadrant 1. Okay, down here, this is bearish down here. Okay, right over here, this is the all-time low right there. Okay, so right there is the all-time low. All right, and you can see we are not far from attacking that all-time low. You can see right here the head and shoulders pattern. We're looking for the right arm to come down and challenge the all-time lows. That would be where the left hand left off down here, or the left arm. Okay, so there's UNG, bearish and in a downtrend. All right, let's take a look at GLD. GLD is bullish and in an uptrend. Okay, you can see price action clearly bullish, all right, as price moves up and then over to the right. That's bullish. Okay, you can see a series of higher lows. Here's a low, low, higher lows. See them? Okay, and then we got highs, higher, highs. All of these are higher highs. So that's bullish and in an uptrend. Okay, again, price. Okay, price moves up and holds the higher ground. That's bullish, as opposed to moving up and giving it up. All right, they're not doing that. They're going up and they're holding this area. So they're up at the top of quadrant 4. That's bullish. You already saw the uptrend, higher lows, higher highs. So that's an uptrend, and they're bullish up at the top of quadrant 4. Okay, so that's GLD up there attacking. All of these are all-time highs. Okay, this is 4 different attacks on the all-time highs right there. Let's take a look at SLV. All right, SLV, lower high, lower low, closing under a bearish trap, but over the rising 17. Up there in quadrant 4, that's bullish up there. You can see price action in the past. All right, you can see where price moves up and holds the higher ground, builds a launch pad right through here. Notice the launch pad gets built right there, and then they launch, and then we build another launch pad right through here, and then we launch and make a new 13-year high up there. Okay, So another launch up into a new 13-year high. Price action in quadrant 4, that's bullish, and in an uptrend because we got higher lows and higher highs right there. Okay, if they take out this low, they'll have a downtrend. That's a long ways to come down. All right, we'll see what happens. Everything's looking good so far. Okay, so there's silver. Let's take a look at SMH. SMH up at the top of quadrant 4, that's bullish and in an uptrend. See all the green dots? That's a 17 EMA. Okay, that's bullish. Look at it. If you wanted a picture of an uptrend, here, take a picture of this. This is a really nice uptrend right there. Okay, notice they made new all-time highs right here about 5 days ago, right there. SMH. XLK is our technology sector. Let's see what we got here. Not enough mustard. All right, so this is the all-time high made on the 21st. All right, price action is a higher low, higher high, closing over a bullish trap over the 17 up at the top of quadrant 4. Okay, anytime you see consolidation, okay, over prior consolidation. So here's some consolidation. All right, and now we've got some consolidation on top of prior consolidation. That is a bullish behavior. That is a bullish environment. That is a bullish outlook. Anytime you see consolidation on top of prior consolidation. Okay, so that's the XLK. That's the technology sector. That's bullish and in an uptrend. Again, look at all the green dots. Okay, and you can see just recently made a new all-time high up there. So that's XLK. Let's take a look at XLF. XLF puts in a new all-time high today. Okay, let me just say, puts in a new all-time high. Okay, it doesn't get any better than that. Okay, now anybody that's listened to my videos in the past, they know that I talked about investment banking. Better have some profits, all right, because the market's making new all-time highs. Okay, all they got to do, and they're the ones that facilitate, all right, all of these buys and sells in the market. So all they got to do is ride the coattails of the big money. All right, you see big money putting their money over here, you just follow suit. You see the price of that security go up. All right, so it's very simple. Investment banking should be off the charts. And they are putting in new all-time highs. Again, they're the ones that facilitate these market highs right here. They're the ones that put in the buys and sell orders up there. Okay, so there we got XLF. Okay, bullish and in an uptrend, new all-time high. Doesn't get any better than that. Let's take a look at IYT. Okay, IYT up here in the upper third. Okay, so that's bullish. It's up in the upper third, okay? And you can see we got consolidation over prior consolidation. See that? It's consolidated here. Now we get consolidation over that. That's bullish. That's a bullish environment. That's a bullish outlook. That's a bullish characteristic, all right? To move up and hold the higher ground takes an incredible amount of strength. It's like planking for 6.5 hours, okay? It's almost impossible to do, okay? So there's the IYT. That's bullish. Notice the lows. We got higher lows. Notice the highs. Uptrend. Bullish and in an uptrend. It's in the upper third, actually in quadrant 4, so that's bullish and in an uptrend. All right, that's it for me today. The products I like. What do I like? I like a 10-minute uptrend. All right. I like to trade SPY and QQQ. I like a 10-minute, and those of you out there with futures, all right, you can just take the same signals I'm taking right here in the room. All right, if I'm buying calls, all right, you probably want to go long, all right, or if you see me point out a 10-minute uptrend, a 10-minute uptrend on my SPY is going to probably 99% of the time will be a 10-minute uptrend in your futures chart, just like mine on SPY, all right? If you ever want to put them side by side, you'll see they're almost identical most of the time. So all of you guys out there trying to pass your evals, trying to chunk up your accounts, all right? If you're into futures, okay, all you got to do is find those 10-minute uptrends over VWAP, all right? And that's where I go long on my futures charts, all right? And in my futures accounts, all right? So I like a 10-minute uptrend over VWAP. And guess what? I like it when it's inside of a 2-hour uptrend. And I like it when that 2-hour uptrend is also inside the daily uptrend, inside the weekly uptrend, inside the monthly uptrend. You see what I'm doing here? I got all the forces of nature, okay, pushing, all right, price to the upside. I may get a 10-minute downtrend, all right, that fails because I have a 2-hour uptrend that just keeps pushing price higher, all right? Or a daily uptrend that just keeps pushing price up higher, okay? So I like it when I get all of those trends, all right, filling my sales to take price to a new high or to the high of day or to make a new high for this week or make a new high in the rally, okay? That's what I like. 10-minute uptrend over VWAP, okay? VWAP is volume weighted average price, okay? So that's what I like. 10 minutes, see, here it is. See the 3 on top of the 8, 3 on top of the 8, okay? That's an uptrend over the 17. See the green dots over the 17 EMA, okay? See how price and that trap, okay? Trap is that space between the 3 EMA and the 8 EMA, which is the white line. See how it's cutting away from VWAP? That's a brown line. Okay? See the green dots cut away from VWAP here. Okay? So there it is. Price 10-minute uptrend cutting away from VWAP. I like that. Okay? When it's inside that 2-hour uptrend, inside the daily uptrend, inside the weekly, inside the monthly. Okay? A lot of times in the future, you're not going to have this. You might have a daily uptrend, but the weekly and the monthly are in downtrends. Okay, you might have consolidation where price is just moving over to the right instead of moving up and down, moving up. All right, you might not get everything that you have. What we're looking at. This is a unique environment right now to trade. Okay, this is what you want to trade. Okay, these 10-minute uptrends inside the 2-hour, inside the daily, inside the weekly, inside the monthly. Okay, that's what I like to trade. Again, 3 on top of the 8. All right, you get the candles, the 3 and the 8 on top of the 17. That's the green dots. Notice how price structure cuts away from VWAP right there and continues to rise right there. Beautiful rise right there. And look at this trend. It lasts almost from, 10 o'clock, clear almost to the end of the day. There's only one candle where the 3 is not over on top of the 8. This last candle right here. All right, so there's 10-minute. I would be looking for a continuation of the 10-minute uptrend over VWAP, okay? I'm gonna show you something, okay? This is Wall Street right here, okay? I'm going to show you, okay, on the daily chart, okay? Okay, this is the dip, all right? You all remember the dip, okay? Because the dip went all the way down to like 484, 482, okay? So we were up here making new highs up at 612, okay? Then we fell out of bed after the triple top, okay? And we went down all the way down here and made the dip. Well, Wall Street bought the dip. Okay, now when they buy the dip, they're just like you and me. They're going to want 2 reward units for 1 risk. So this is the dip. They bought the dip. That's the risk. Okay, 1 reward unit takes them up to 655, 656. 2 reward units. And I gotta tell you, I'll be tickled if we just get up to one reward unit, okay? That would be awesome just to get one of those. All right, so let me see if I can push this around a little bit so you can see how high the other one goes. Okay, so, and this is me stacking one of the risk, two of the risk units up top as rewards. Okay, so here's the high of the second risk unit, 737. Okay, just saying the market moves a lot of times in synchronicity. What happens on the south side often happens on the north side. So you see this big parabolic dip, you're likely to get a big parabolic peak, okay, up over here. Okay, watch for it. It might happen, it might not, okay? But I've traded the market many, many years. And I'm just saying that this is likely to happen. And what would be the catalyst or that facilitates that peak up there? Just think of the AI bubble that's happening now, robotics happening now. Okay, everybody's wanting, they want their school reports, you know, written by AI. All right, you got realtors using AI to list houses. You know, just putting in a description of the house. You got all kinds of uses for AI, including graphics. They're using AI in the movies. They're using AI everywhere. Okay, not to mention those graphic chips are being used to support the crypto markets. All right, because it takes those big algorithms to create those crypto coins. Okay, so we are in the middle, and of course they've just now decided to recognize crypto as an asset. All right, a usable asset. It's not tangible, all right? Make no mistake, it's not tangible at all, okay? But it is a usable asset, okay, according to the government now. So this is a new thing, all right? So all of that could produce an AI bubble that actually does create that hyperbolic peak to the upside that gets us all the way up to 638.7, okay? I'm just saying, like, back here when I said, hey, Wall Street obviously bought the dip, we could be going up to 655 and even further, okay? So this is, I've been talking about this for a long time now, all right? And look at where we are today, 637 and change, okay? We're not far from 655, okay? There were days back here we were making $20, $10 days, okay? Right now, there's $4 days, but okay, I'm just saying there were days we were making $10 and $20 days, okay? So 637, 655, you can see we are within striking distance of that 635 first reward unit for the risk. All right, we'll see what happens. Remember, 650 is a psychological number. If we hit 650, it's highly likely that we consolidate a little bit and then possibly pull back to this rising anchored VWAP right there, hard and fast, and then watch it bounce all the way back up there, and we start to consolidate again, and then start heading back up towards the highs up here. And it may happen all in 1 week. I mean, I'm talking a big move, all right? All the way from 650 down to, you can see right here, 570, 580. All right, just a huge rip down to there, bounce, and then back up. All the way back up to 650, and then higher on up to 700. We'll see what happens, all right? Might not happen, but I'm just saying, keep an eye. See this peak between two valleys? It's often a target. And notice that low anchored VWAP is now right on top of that peak, right? That valley between the two peaks, okay? It's a possibility for that to happen. Just keep your eyes open, all right? Watch for that downtrend to manifest if it does. Right now, okay, it's bullish until it's not. Okay, so I am gonna stay bullish until it's not bullish. I see no triple tops. All right, I see green candle ball, green 17 EMA, just dot after dot after dot. Okay, we are bullish. Okay, I'm going to stay bullish until it's not bullish. And right now, you can see we're making new all-time highs. It doesn't get any bullisher than that, if that's a word. All right? It doesn't get any more bullish than that. All right, take a few questions. Then I'm going to wrap it up. I'm going to wish everybody have a wonderful weekend. Let me just say, a lot of people made some goals, and they said, that's it for me. I'm not going to give it back to the market. And let me just say, I think all of you that did that, okay, all right, realize something about yourself, okay? Because in the market, you're not trading against the market maker. You're not trading against the trader next to you. You're not trading against the trader on the other side of the screen, okay? You're trading against yourself, okay? And the idea that some of these traders in the room recognize that they get emotionally wrecked in the afternoon after making daily goals, 2 daily goals, 3 daily goals, only to give it all back to the market, decided, hey, it's Friday, I'm going to go home green, all right? I'm going to book my 3 goals and go home for the day, all right, and keep my money, okay, instead of giving it back to the market. And I'm saying, hats off to you. Finally, you're recognizing your own psychoanalysis, all right? Psychoanalysis, so you can be a success, all right? And I like that. I appreciate that, okay? That is a big step in the trader journey, is recognizing what emotions you're going through and what habits you have, okay? So there you go. And I'm proud of all of you, all right? And I'm proud of even all of you guys that stuck around and wanted to trade it, okay? If you made your daily goal and you want to stick around and hang out for the rest of the day, like I have no problem with you putting away your money account, taking out the paper account, and trade the afternoon. And those of you that are good at trading the afternoon and you continue to trade the afternoon, hats off to you too. All right, so I'm happy. A lot of people made money today in the BYOB Trading Room, and that makes me happy. All right, because I can do this, but it's more important that you see that it can work. And the only way you're going to see that it works is to get in here, find that 10-minute uptrend that John points out, and then trade it and watch it work for you too. All right. So I'm going to look in here, see if I got any questions, because I don't see the screen up. So I'm going to look around. All right. If not, I'm going to wish everybody a wonderful weekend. Thanks, Jim. Yep. Thanks, Rickster. XLK, all-time high closing. Let's take a peek one more time. I don't think so. Yeah, see, there's just a little bit of air between this day, so not quite. All right, Rickster. Thanks, Robert. Yeah, many thanks to you too. Thank you so much. Does SPY look like a J-hook on the daily? Looks like a beautiful uptrend. This is like this right here. Yeah, that's a J-hook right there. Hitting this triple top support right there. That does look like a J-hook, if that's what you're asking me. All right. I mean, but I'm encompassing 2 years of data here to get to see that J-hook. Yes. Alan, thanks. Jim, thanks. Yep. Thank you very much. Fido, great announce. I hope you have a great weekend too, Fido. Covered puts, great day. All right, Jim, I like that. I like it. Way to go. All right, that's it for me for today, okay? I'm going to see you guys all on Monday. All right. Oh yeah. Let me just, one more thing, okay? Rick Sadler from Hit and Run Candlesticks, okay? Swing trader, all right? And just straight up security trader as well. Okay, so he's going to have an open house on Tuesday, July 29th, 8:45 to 4:15, okay? I'm going to leave the link in my description. If you don't want to go through all of that, just take your smartphone and scan this. It'll send you to a link, and you can register to attend the open house that happens on July 29th. All right. Now let me just say, all right, they're going to email you your credentials. All right. So look in your spam folder. All right. So you can be there on the 29th at 8:45, because Rick comes in the morning, and he kind of describes everything that's happened before, so that you're prepared to trade with him that day. So if you're going to wait till 9 o'clock, all right, you're going to miss a lot of the preparation, all right, so that you can be successful, all right? So I'm just saying, every part of Rick's day is important, okay? And I mean the 8:45 thing, all right, where he opens up and starts talking about what happened yesterday and what happened last week and what he's looking at up ahead. Okay, that's an important video, okay? So you want to be there at 8:45. All right, he's going to talk about entries, he's going to talk about exits, he's going to talk about management, he's going to show you how to double your account, he's going to show you how to find direction, he's going to show you a whole bunch of stuff. He's going to show you some strategies. I bet he talks about the 3-ace trap. I'll bet he talks about the rounded bottom breakout. I'll bet he talks about a blue ice failure. All right, I'll bet he talks about a lot of things. All right, he's got a lot of tools in his toolbox. All right, so come in and join him. It's free. It's no charge, but you do have to register so you can get in. All right, so I'll leave the code, all right, in the description of my video. All right, and if you don't want to look at it, you can just scan this right here, that QR code right there with your smartphone, and that will send you to the registration link. All right, that's it for me today. Everybody have a beautiful weekend. See y'all on Monday.